Okay, folks. It's a rainy day this morning. I got some work to do down on the farm, getting ready for deer season next year. But before I leave, I'm going to tell you the story this morning about a trout hunt or trout trip I went on many years ago, back in the early 70s. This is up on Whitewater River, above Lake Jocassee. They built the lake, and I used to go up in there fishing and walking, but now you got to use a boat to get back in there. But Jocassee Lake, ahead of it, and one of the tributaries feed in there is Whitewater River, and it has several different waterfalls on it. But at the lake itself, there's two waterfalls, one right above the other, that tumble off almost right in the lake. And this is really dangerous to get into, but I had figured out a way to climb above the very last waterfall to get above it. Between it and the one above it, there was a pool up there. Big pool, deep, beautiful blue water. And the kind of place that nobody hardly ever gets in there. And so anything in there had been there for a long time, had a chance to grow, chance to get really big. And I love fishing for big trout. And I'd got up in there, and I found a brown trout up there at the tail end of this big pool. And he was lucked up. He hit my lure that day, but he was able to break loose. But I was able to figure out where he was coming from. He had a ledge he was hiding up under that he was holding in. And so I knew he was there. He was about 19 inches long. And I decided I was going to go back and take it and try to get him another day. And the day I was up there, it was a beautiful day, winter day, but it was pretty blue skies. And about 3 weeks later, I was back home, and I was talking to a friend of mine about this, how pretty it was up there, how big the trout was, and talked him into going with me. And he had never climbed a mountain like this here, especially rocky ledges like we had to climb. I told him it's rough getting in there. I said, but we can get in there, good chance you're going to catch at least, 3-pound trout. And that 3-pound trout is a pretty good sized trout. So, was to me anyway. We go up there and we take a boat across the lake. We anchor off at the bottom of the waterfall, and we get to the rocky ledge we've got to climb. And the way I got to get in there, and the only way I could figure out without going half a mile around, there was a fault in the rock on the left side of that waterfall. And it was only about so wide and about so deep, but you could get in that fault. It was like an old chimney, and you could work your way up. Just put your back against one side, your knees back, just work your way up. About 45 foot up, maybe 50 foot at the most. But it was vertical, it was straight up. When you got up there above it, at that 45 foot rocky ledge, there wasn't no other way close by to climb. That was it. There was a overhanging rock, about 30-degree rock, about 12 foot long. It was an angle, and that ledge come up underneath it. That little chimney came up underneath it. When you got right directly under it, there was like a chunk of rock that kind of stuck out a little bit. And you could get right there with that, and you could almost sit on it and reach around that ledge that came down, and you could reach on the top side of it. And there was a crack in that rock. About that far from the edge, there was a crack, and it went about that deep. Well, you could reach around and put your fingers in that crack and grab hold, reach around, grab the other side, and just swing out. And you're just kind of dangling for a second, and you just take your arms and pull yourself up. And then you start wiggling, pulling until you got your body up on top. And then when you got your body, you work your way up, and you get on that and put your feet in that crack, and the rock's going at a 30-degree angle, and it's wet. But you just kind of lean forward and work your way up. The rock was about 12 foot, 14 foot long. And at the top, there was a lot of brush up there. But you got to get that 12 foot up there. So you got to kind of be real careful, just kind of work your way on the side of it, get a branch, and then you go on up. So I told Jimmy his name. I told Jimmy, when we get up there, I said, that's going to be kind of hard. You got to be able to hold yourself and pull yourself over that ledge. Well, I can do it, he said. So I knew I could do it. He said he could do it. So we had 2 rods. So I went first. I got up there. I I got a hold of it, pulled myself over, got up on the ledge. So I'm on the ledge. And I said, now, he was below me. He come up below me. And the two rods, I tied them to a rope, and he had them behind him coming up last. So when he got to that, right under that ledge, he's kind of sitting there on that little point that sticks out. He's kind of sitting on it. And I said, I can't see him because that ledge goes over. But he can talk to me because he ain't probably 6 foot below me, or 5 foot below me. And I said, Jimmy, I said, send them rods up, and I'll grab hold of them, and I'll pull them on over here, get them out of the way. So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I see the two tips of the rods come up. I just reach out, get the rod tips, pull them up, and I lay them over on the rock beside me here. I said, all right. I said, come on up. And when you get around the rock right here, I'll give you a hand if I have to give you a hand. So he's reached around, gets one hand on that rock, and he says, I can't do it. He said, I ain't going to be able to pull myself up. I said, you got to pull yourself up because there ain't no other way. You get up far enough, I can get a hold of you, but you got to do it yourself to start with. I can't do it. Well, now there I am. We're that close to being fish, to start to fish, and now he's telling me he can't make it. Well, that ain't an option I want to hear. I'm thinking, what can we do? What can we do? Should have brought a big rope that I could have pulled him up, but I didn't think about it because I thought if I could do it, he could do it too. Well, I said, I tell you what. I said, you reach up, get one hand on that rock. When you get your hand on it, I'm going to take the rod, I'm going to lower the rod down where you can get your hand on that rod. And I said, when I tell you to get ready, I'm going to pull on that rod, and I'll pull you over that point enough to where I can get a hold of you, then I'll get you on up. He said, okay, all right, that'll work. So I get one of the rods, and I reach over and get it. And I see his hand come up, and he gets hold of the rock. And I stick the rod tip down there, well, not the tip, but the handle down there. And I've got it pretty close to the middle, holding onto it. And I said, all right, grab the rod. He grabs the rod. So I'm going to pull now. So he's got one hand on the rock, and the other hand he got on the rod. And I pull him around. So he comes over that rock, and when he comes over, he lets go of the rock, and he puts both hands on the rod, and I'm pulling him up. So here's a rock. He comes around, and he comes up over it. And he got the rod in his hand, and I mean, I'm that far from him. And I've done got him just about enough over where I can hang on with the rod in one hand, reach out and get a hold of him, pull him. Well, at that exact moment, a little something unusual happened that I never thought about. The rod I'd reached back and got, the one that was his, I didn't know, it was a 2-piece rod. So he's coming over the rock, and he got both hands on the rod, and all of a sudden, the rod separates. And I see his eyes get big, and he just goes, he's gone. He's gone. He don't even utter a word, he's gone. And I know what it's like. 45, 50 foot verticals, they ain't nothing. And it's sheer rock, straight below, granite rock. You drop 45, 50 foot on your back and your head, you're dead. And it's in the water right there. Water's about probably 4 or 5 inches deep to run across a rock going into the lake. So it's going to kill him. It's going to suck him right out into the lake. And I'm sitting there, what have I done? I just killed him. He's dead. I killed him. And I mean, I probably 5, 6 seconds, I didn't move because I was in shock. I knew what happened. He was gone. And finally, after 4 or 5 seconds, I didn't want to see what I was going to see. Blood splattered, brains everywhere. I eased the edge, and I looked down there, and yeah, he's gone. I mean, where he would hit, there's nothing there. Nobody, no nothing. I mean, I said, oh, God. Killed him. He's dead. I said, he's dead. And I look in the water, just about 30, 40 foot away is the lake, and it's deep, deep water. And I look, and I don't see nobody in the water. He went under. He's gone. I think, how am I going to tell his wife? I mean, he's dead. So I just sat back, and I ain't moving. I'm just sitting there thinking, what in the world? What have I done? For our trout. Done killed him. And I should have known he couldn't climb this thing. And about that time, I hear him way off, hear his voice say, help, help. help. It's so faint. You barely, and I thought, and I what? And I grabbed, and I eased back up where I could look over, and I looked down there, and there's nothing there. I swear I heard a voice say, help. The river's roaring down there. There's a lot of racket for that river. But I swear I heard a voice say, help. And I'm looking, and I'm looking, and I hear it again. Help. Help. And this time I realize it sounds far off, but it can't be that far. So I'm looking around, and I don't see nothing. There's nothing. There's just rock down below. And then I lean just a little bit farther, and I look, and I can see back up under that rock a little bit. And there's Jimmy. When that rod went let go, when he went back, he was gone. He was gone. But as he went down, he didn't drop 2 foot. His right leg dropped. That crack in the rock, I told you what we came up, it was about so far deep. There was a point, a rock that stuck out like a big tooth at an angle. His leg dropped down behind it, and his body went over the other side. So it wedged his right leg at the knee in there. And there he was swinging back and forth, upside down, just hanging. That leg hung up there in that point, in that little rock. His leg was hung there, wedged, and the rest of his body was just swinging back and forth, back and forth. I said, "Oh my God!" And he looking up at me. He said, "Help me, help me!" And I'm like, "Oh my God!" And I can't get down to him because he's in the way. So I'm thinking, what can I do? And I said, "Get a rod out here." I look back, and my rod is still laying over there. My rod's a one piece. I reach over and get a hold of that rod again. And this time, I lower it down, and I said, "Get a hold of the rod, Jimmy. I'm going to pull you back around." So he gets a hold of the rod, and I lean back, and I start pulling. I pull him around. And while I got him, I said, "Don't let go." I just keep pulling him on up till he gets where that ledge is, and I grab him by the dang shoulder, and I pull him up on that ledge with me. Well, we didn't move for probably 10 minutes because he was dry heaving. He was, well, it was a bad day. But he's alive. And I wanted to be in how his leg got wedged. He kept him from going on. He'd been dead as a doornail. And matter of fact, people have been killed right there already climbing that cliff. So, got him up there. We went on up the mountainside. It'd been raining that day. The river was bad and up really out of his banks. And the pool where the big trout was at, it was flooded. So we didn't do no good at all. But I dang near got my friend killed. And come back down, got him off the mountainside there. And I think that was the last time he ever went trout fishing. Because out of that one, he didn't want to trout fish. But I had another experience. This is on whitewater. Another time I was up on, I guess you'd say Cedars Head. There's a creek up there. I think it's Matthews Creek, and they have up in the upper end of it, up in the valley up there, in the upper side of the valley, in a remote area. They call them Raven Falls, set of waterfalls up in there. And we had hiked back in there, me and a buddy, and good walk, but the last 50 yards was down a cliff. And I mean, you had to hand over hand. It just can rappel you way down to get in there where the waterfalls was feeding. And there was some good not brown, but brook trout in there. Beautiful trout. Well, I got down first, and I stepped down on a big boulder, and I could see trout already. I said, "Oh man, it's gonna be great." Well, my buddy Jimmy was coming behind me, and I'm looking into the pool, and about that time, the river's making a lot of racket. I hear this rumbling noise like thunder. And I kind of look up. Well, it's a blue sky. They wouldn't know. And I turn around and look to see what Jimmy's doing. And Jimmy ain't there. And I look around. I said, "Where the heck did he go?" Because he was coming down right behind me off that bluff. And he ain't there. And I said, "Where's Jimmy?" And when I turned back around, I just glanced down this big pool I'm in. And I looked down, and there's Jimmy in that pool. He's going around and around and around. He's underwater. Now, the pool probably ain't 6 foot deep. It wasn't that deep. But it is when you lay on your side going around and around. And I looked down there, And then you see him kind of start moving around, and he kind of stood up and he got a hold of a rock. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I fell." And what I'd heard was big boulders he'd been on had broke loose, and him and that boulder both had come off that day. Buff, and he dropped about 20 foot into that. He ended up in the pool, which is probably the best thing for him. Softened his blow. But anyway, I reached down, got him by the shoulder, and pulled him up out of the pool. And I said, "Man, you done rooked this place. We're going to have to go somewhere else to fish and get above this pool." But he ain't listened to me. I looked down and I said, "Are you okay?" Because I'd give him a hard time, but, you know, things happen when you're fishing or hunting, either one. But he ain't really paying much attention. He's just kind of sitting there, hunched over. I said, "Jimmy, are you okay?" You know, he looked up at me and he said, "I don't feel good." I said, "Are you hurting? Where are you hurting?" He said, "Well, my back's hurting a little bit when I hit the rocks." He said, "But my hand's killing me." I said, "Well, where's your hand killing you?" He said, "Right here." And what he had done, boulder hit it. He broke his hand in 3 places right there. We didn't know at the time, but it was broke. And I said, "Can you move your fingers and everything?" He could move them. I said, you just bruised a little bit. It'll be okay." I said, "Let's fish a little bit. You'll be fine." He said, "I don't feel like fishing right now." I said, "Well, look, we done hike for hours to get in here." I said, "I'm going to fish." I said, "Now, if you don't feel no better in a little while, we'll do something else." So I set him over on a big rock where the sun was shining down. It was a pretty day. It was a winter day, but it was still pretty sun shining. I put him on that rock, and I said, "Now, in a couple of minutes, you'll be fine. Let me just start fishing." Well, I guess I fished for about 45 minutes. I had 7 trout. Boy, I mean, I was having a ball. I turned around and looked back up there, and he was still sitting on that rock. I said, Donnie," I said, you can't just think about yourself all the time. You got to go back up there. Something wrong. He shouldn't be sitting there that long, not over a bruise." I walked back up there. I said, "Jimmy," I said, "are you okay now?" He said, "I really don't feel good." I said, "Are you hurting anywhere else?" He said, No, but my hand is throbbing." I said, "Jimmy," I said, "you might have broke a bone in there then." I said, "Can you use it?" He said, "No, I don't want to touch it." I said, "Well, look, if you really broke a bone, we need to get you out of here." I said, I'm not a doctor." I said, "But I broke bones before." And I said, "It ain't stopped me from fishing." I said, "If you stop you from fishing, it's got to be worse than I thought. So we get out of here." So he stands up, and I get his rod and mine, because he don't want to tote the rod. And he's kind of holding hand like so. We walk about 30 yards. We start to the bluff, go back up, and it's probably not 50, 60 foot vertical, but it's vertical. And I look at him and I said, "You gonna be able to climb this bluff?" Because I mean, the only way I could get up there, I had to grab holes and pull. You couldn't walk up it at all. And he said, "No." I said, "How you gonna get out of here?" He said, "I don't know." He said, I can't use his hand at all. He said, "If I grab one hand, I can't hold anything with this hand. I can't let go and get another hand. I'm going to fall back off." I got to think, I said, "You're right, you ain't." So we tried. He couldn't get it. He just couldn't get up it. I said, "Well, Jimmy, you're in a that bad spot, you know." And so finally, I had some small piece of rope there that I brought along for a trout string or whatever. I said, "Well, I know what we're going to have to do." So I took his hands together, and I tied them together. He broke his wrist up in here, but I tied his hands together, and I put that sucker over my head. I had his arm right here on me, and I put him on my back, and up that mountainside I went pulling. Now he probably did weigh 180 pounds, and that's not light, but that's not a lot of weight either. But when you are paddling upside of a mountain, and he's on your back hanging, dangling, and he ain't helping at all, that arm's just choking you. You can't breathe because he's choking you. That 50-foot like to kick my butt. But when I got on that top of that ledge right there, he was able to stand up and he could walk in, So we got out of there. But that was the last time he ever went trout fishing. So trout fishing and buddies of mine don't go together. So I was always getting in some kind of predicament that got somebody else hurt or me one. But that was 2 instances of taking it a little too far sometimes. But the trout fishing is great when you get in those remote areas. Oh, I love it. The countryside, the wilderness. But I ain't been back in either one of them spots in many years. Because I was young back then, I could do it. At this age, I don't think I need to go back in there. But anyway, I just want to pass them 2 stories on. Now I got to go down and work on some land. Enough for today.